Brett McCabe's episode just recently was freaking awesome. Tons of people. I got somebody asked me the other day, like, that's totally up my alley of like stuff that I love to listen to.
Well, what was nice about it's like we finally got to talk about sports specific topics.
On Mind Pump.
I crave it.
I swear to God, I promise you guys, Justin and I know something about sports just a little bit.
What are you guys talking about again?
Yeah, exactly.
Sal just tuned out.
No, Brett McCabe's episode was so great about sports psychology, and then it wasn't that much longer after that. I just happened to be going through Jordan's Art of Charm because it's
one of our favorite podcasts.
For sure.
You need to listen to that podcast.
He always has great guests on there, and he has Hines Ward. And if you don't know Hines Ward, two-time Super Bowl winner and MVP of one of them when he actually caught the winning touchdown. Dude is a badass. And he gets into a lot of what like McCabe talks about with the sports psychology. You get to learn about his background, where he came from. And
very interesting story.
Yeah, and what drives someone to be like that. And they get into like talent and work hard and working hard. And it reminds me of the quote that, when you talent will always, working hard will always outbeat talent that doesn't work hard. And it's so true. And
he actually talks about that.
Well, it's not. There's so many.
You can only get so far just based off of talent.
And there's so many parallels with that. And this is what they get into with sports and in life and in business. Of applying that hard work. And even there's somebody who's more talented than you are in that same field, in that same sport, that eventually hard work will surpass that talent, especially when talent doesn't work hard.
It was an excellent episode. I just looked it up, 520 on Art of Charm, Hines Ward. Great episode, but in general, great podcast.
Always.
Check out the Art of Charm. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the month next month, the price of our private forum is going to be going up. So this is the final month for this current price. However, you can also get it for free, and this is how. Enroll in either the RGB bundle, which includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic, 9 months of exercise programming, or take it the next step and do the MAPS Super Bundle, which includes those, plus MAPS Prime, which teaches you how to prime your body before your workouts, called our most revolutionary program, and MAPS Anywhere, which is our equipment-free program. Some people use that to bridge between the other MAPS programs, or if you travel, or if you just want to work out at home. Enroll in one of those two bundles, you get forum access absolutely free. You can check this all out at mindpumpmedia.com.
If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
Are you guys into feet? Yeah. I got the perfect thing for you.
You like feet?
Oh, yeah, I like feet. I like to spread them all intricately. I like to get real tense in between my toes. You know how I can better do that? The Barefoot Clinic that we're going to host here at Mind Pump headquarters.
Oh, my God. That's the worst commercial I've ever heard in my entire life.
I'm so into feet, man.
When do we have the barefoot people coming in?
The 25th.
It's March 25th and 26th?
Yeah.
So this is a certification on barefoot training and how to get the foot to be more connected.
That's right. It's not how to paint your toenails.
No. I didn't realize just how
Fix my hammer toe.
How important your feet were to the rest of your body's mobility, stability, and connectivity.
Dude.
It was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
How do they sign up for this? It's on our site, right, Doug?
Yeah, it's on the site.
So you go to mindpumpmedia.com under the events calendar, and you can sign up for the Barefoot Specialist certification course, which will be held here at mindpumpmedia.com, or at Mind Pump Media Studios, I should say, headquarters.
Yeah.
I'll say three separate things. They all mean the same thing.
It's all the same.
It's all the same thing.
Once you get there, you're there.
But we know you're not into feet, Justin, for real. So that must have been tough for you.
Yeah, I'm really not. And, forewarning, you should probably trim your toenails and all that kind of stuff before going into this. Just as as a common courtesy.
Do you guys have any weird
fetishes?
Yeah.
God, he said, why do you got to go there, dude?
Do we have to?
Well, don't go to extreme. I don't want you guys to share anything
surface stuff
that we're gonna have to edit.
Surface stuff. Let's see. Is there such thing as a surface? Surface fetish?
I got an idea.
Depends on how weird you are.
I got an idea. What part of a woman?
I haven't. Well, don't do that because now I can't answer what I was about to say because it's not like. No,
you have a fetish on them. Well, whatever.
I have an ear fetish.
Ears?
Yeah, I like ears.
Is there a particular type of ear?
Yes, absolutely.
What is it?
I don't like them big Dumbo-y looking. Yeah. I don't like them like Elfie.
You like to give a real nice wet willy.
Elfie point looking. They have to be just a medium size, and I like a lot of dexterity within the ear.
What do you mean?
lobe.
So they can wiggle them.
Yeah, so I can rub them and I can wiggle them,
I
and
see.
they're soft. Like some people have like a lot of cartilage,
big lobes.
like UFC fighter ears. All bad. Not going to work for me.
Do you like folds? Like a lot of
that's too
folds in the
bad.
ears?
That's okay as long as it's not so much cartilage
Lots of
that
hanging skin.
You can't work with it. Like I want to be able to grab it. So
What if
this
they
is
had one of those like what
As
are they
a-
called, like gauge earrings? You know, where
not
they, like,
cool.
really, they
To me, that
gauge it
ruins
out?
a good pair of
Oh, you
ears.
don't
Really?
like- you don't like a floppy lobe?
I
You know
don't.
what I mean?
I
Okay,
don't.
do you like the lobe attached to the head or a separate? You know how the lobe can kind of hang a little bit?
No, detached. Because if it's detached, you
right,
can
right.
wiggle it and you can rub it.
I
Yeah.
see.
Really?
Yeah.
But you don't
You
like...
asked what fetish,
But
I-
you don't
Pull
I
on
used-
those like if doggy
literally
style, you know
my
what I'm saying?
entire life. No, this is not like a sexual fetish for me. It's just a
okay.
fetish. Like you said, you try to be PG, I give you a PG fetish.
Well, yeah,
for you.
but when you're, let's say...
it was a thing that I used to do all the way from elementary school all the way up into high school.
you play with people's
I've
ears?
noticed
I wouldn't
you-
say I would
you-
play.
you fondled mine
I would
a
walk
couple
up to
times.
someone when I'd say hi, and that was like my way of saying, like, see,
Holy shit, you've done it to me.
I know.
I've done it to all of you.
You did it to me.
You
like,
never, none
my
of you.
whole career.
Yeah.
He's come behind me.
It's.
and
I've
like,
always done it. It's
I
been
thought that
a-
was our special thing.
It was not our special thing. It's
I
my
feel-
special thing. It's a signature move that I've done
I
forever.
feel uncomfortable now.
Fine.
No, don't feel
I
uncomfortable.
thought you were just fucking
He said
with
it
me.
wasn't sexual.
It's not
Sal.
sexual. It's
Calm
like a-
down.
Yeah, but the fact that you grabbed my ear and then you liked it,
Yeah.
I feel violated.
No, it's not like
I
that.
thought you were
though.
just fucking with me, like,
No,
hey,
that's-
grab your ear. But you actually, and you did. I remember.
You caught me in the bathroom watching one of our videos, and you were
yeah.
talking.
Yes.
And that freaked you out.
Yeah, he was.
Don't worry, dude. I
Justin-
wasn't like doing anything.
Justin was taking a shit in the bathroom, and you know Justin's pretty audible when he takes a shit, and so you could hear, and then all of a sudden I hear my voice. I'm like, what the hell are you? doing?
You were inspiring me.
I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm watching YouTube. I'm like, you better not be doing what I think you're doing.
yeah.
Oh, it's disgusting.
Yeah, no.
Well.
So yeah, I don't like that you did that. You touched my ear, but you enjoyed it because now I feel violated a little
It's
bit.
kind of like walking up and patting your buddy on the back, or grabbing somebody by the shoulder, or somebody that grabs like your traps, or shaking you in the hand. Like it's just
Got it.
it's like a, but it's not just anybody. Like I won't walk up to some random stranger. Like if I rubbed your ear, we're cool. Right? We're close. We're close enough for me to do that. That I feel that's like me showing my love. Like, hey, bro.
Well, I'm glad you love me, but I don't want you to do it anymore. I don't.
Well, now you make me feel uncomfortable. I probably won't do it to you anymore because I don't want you like looking at me all weird, like it's like a sexual
Well,
thing.
it's kind of weird. It does feel a little violating because
It's me showing my love.
it's a strange part of the body to.
I'm a tickler. I'm just gonna put it out there. Okay. I like to tickle. I don't like being on the receiving end.
But you
I enjoy a good
You
tickle.
love to do some tickling, though.
I like to just pin you down and
Just-
give you a real good tickling.
Let's have a tickle fight, Justin. That's
Oh
how-
my-
Little pink belly, little tickling.
Next time we do our YouTube series,
Yeah.
I'm fucking gonna tackle you and
No,
tickle
Hey,
you.
Justin-
I told you I don't like receiving
Hey,
it.
Justin, tell us about your first homosexual experience. Well, it started with a tickle fight.
Well, it was a good tickle tussle. And,
tickle tussle.
yeah.
What's your?
It started there.
Is that your fetish?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I feel like that progresses. You know,
Whoa.
things. Yeah, for me.
Real fast.
So you just go up to your girl and you're like, "Hey."
Oh yeah, we
or you
always start
you just-
tickle fighting. You know what I mean? And then it turns into like, oh, like I don't know. It's this weird transition because it's the whole thing. Like you have to kind of shut down the humor side for a bit, but like it starts to kind of spark things. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't want to get into any more detail.
Yeah. See, I'm a big.
I'm just like I'm sharing too much right now.
Yeah. I'm gonna hold
Way
back.
too much.
I'm gonna hold back.
I'm a big neck. I have a big neck fetish. I like necks, especially like where it connects to the shoulder near the collarbone.
You are a vampire.
You
That
would
makes sense.
say something like that to all the little girls that are listening right now going, oh my God, I love my neck.
Like,
I
watch,
love my neck
watch.
kids.
Here's what happened, dude. Like
Hold on, I
a
wanna hear it.
simultaneous flip of hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, that's interesting.
Like he would go for like the number
Tell
one
me more,
spot like
Sal.
on all women is like their neck, bro. He's just I just happen to be excellent at the neck. That's
I
just
They, like,
just happen to have
dab
a
their
fetish
perfume,
with
like,
the
right
neck,
there.
Well, no, I'll
which
tell
just
you-
so happens to be 87% of all women's hot spots. That makes their vagina
and
get
I like
wet.
to kind of just bite it a little.
I
like,
just happen to be an expert
Well,
in
if you
this
guys
area.
would stop talking, I could explain.
Yeah, sell us.
We're filling in all the blanks.
We
Let me
gave,
tell you-
what
let me
we
tell
did
you-
right now is we gave you some time to give some bullshit story right now. Talk about how this
No, I've
this-
always
this
had a
real-
neck fetish.
Okay,
Here's what I
okay.
love about the neck.
Let's hear it.
You can get real close and you can smell her skin. You know what I mean? And women, especially one
She's
that you're
got skin all over her body. You can fucking smell her feet if you
Yeah,
need
but
to.
if you smell right next to the neck, they smell so good, and then you can taste it. I just love that area. I love to spend my time there.
God.
You know what I mean?
Oh God!
So
This guy casting his fucking line out.
hey, Hey, go to Instagram, Mind Pump Radio,
And then I lick it.
and tell us which one is your favorite. Adam's ear rubbing, Justin's tickle party,
Tickle party hashtag.
or me caressing
Let's
your
do
neck.
this.
Oh god, always selling, bro. What is this? Is this the front of the show right now? Is this a fucking commercial right now? What are we doing?
Which one wins?
Yeah.
Which one? Wins?
Click here to get Sal's video on.
So Adam, are you feeling better? You ready to start working out?
Actually, today I'm going to work out for the first time, man. I still have a little bit of this like lingering cough. I'm about, I would say, 85-90% better, which is good enough for me to give it a shot. I've been down though for almost 2 weeks, bro.
Yeah,
that
thing's
this
lingering.
this is the longest I've been down and out
For like the last 2 months.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
yeah, more like the last 4 or 5 years. I haven't strung 2 solid weeks together. That especially not that was planned. Like right after a show, of course, I give myself a rest, but not even 2 weeks. So I normally give myself like 4 days.
You
off.
got it. I think you got it from me, dude.
I'm sure I did. You came in that one day talking about your throat all itchy, and then it was the next day I felt it, and then it was.
But then it's because we shared that.
And I should be very transparent with our audience too, because this is something that here's an area of like awareness for me, right? I talked about like the whole vegetable thing, and that's been a major focus for me, like really trying to get 6 to 10 servings in a day and just be consistent with that and rotating through all of them. I have felt fucking amazing for quite some time. I have not, so those that have been listening to the show since the very beginning, I've been sick a bunch of times. I have the weakest immune system, and I'd get sick all the time. Well, one of the things that happened when I was really cleaning the diet up and really going after once competing was over and it was more about like my overall health, right, than so much driven like how I look. I've never felt so good like inside. I've never been around so many times where I've been around somebody who was sick, because it used to be like someone gets sick, it was like, oh great,
like you instantly got it.
It was never about am I going to get it. It was just like, is this going to be one of those ones that fucks me up for a week, or am I just going to be down for 2 or 3 days? So, for me, that was like how it's always been. Well, I've actually weathered the storm for a good year plus now. This is my first time of being really sick in a long time, and if I'm being completely honest, it's also the most inconsistent I've been with my food for the last month. Dude.
You know what? Let me tell you.
And it's like makes me just want to slam my dick in the door, dude. It's just so frustrating.
It's gut health, man. Gut health is I just listened to a podcast this morning. I think it was Smart Drug Smarts. It's not an older episode. It's like 4 episodes back. That's called, I think, the Gut Brain Axis. By the way, great podcast.
Yeah.
But the guy on there was an author, and I can't remember his name. I think what's his name? Scott Andrews, I think. Anyhow, he's talking about.
Sounds like a good guy. He's
talking about some of the research with gut health. And did you know that they pretty much have cured depression in mice through treating the gut
with healthy poop.
Through treating the gut, and they're strong, and they've already been able to show massive changes in human studies through treating the gut with things like depression and whatever. Like I'm just tripping out over all the stuff that's connected to the gut. It's crazy.
Since Doug is the healthiest one out of us, I don't think
Doug's gotten sick since I've known him.
I think you should eat Doug's poop for a month and see. And since you're the most,
he's trying to pass the baton now.
Yeah, that's why I don't get sick anymore.
Because you ate his poop.
Yep. Straight from the source.
Wow.
Fresh.
Oh, fresh. You don't even blend it up or anything.
Delivered.
Just straight up, just
spread them cheeks, Doug.
Just
shake,
just fresh, shitty face.
Just a nutty froth.
Does he have like a smooth baby butt? I picture it like that. Wow. Like it's just this.
Well, so we're joking right now, but I never pictured it. I think you are. So why don't you tell us?
I think it'd be better if it was like encapsulated, but
encapsulated
you're
poop.
You're just going straight for the fresh.
You know why? Because
could you imagine doing encapsulated and having like the fucking poop
like
burps?
Explode.
Oh my god!
God, that's what we gotta look forward to.
When you have like when you do fish oil or omegas, right? And you have those and you burp the fish, and you're like, oh god! Could you imagine fecal? Like fucking. Oh god! You just fucking every time
you'll be the hit of the party.
What do your farts smell like after you take food?
Yeah, literally.
Hey, can you stop talking for a second?
Oh my god! Yeah, bro, your mouth really smells like shit. Literally.
Well, first off, when they do the poop capsules that they do in studies. First of all, they clean it, which I don't know what that means, but they do something to it.
Cleaning shit is like cleaning dirt. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's like, hey, this is really clean shit. Hey, this is really clean dirt. Like that doesn't work.
There's nothing left.
Yeah, what do you do?
Let's forget for a second that it's shit.
Yeah. So they freeze dry it, and then they put it in a capsule that doesn't break down till it gets to your colon.
Comes
so
in
you
like
won't
Oreo
burp
flavor?
it up. No, you won't burp it up because it doesn't break down until it gets down in your colon, bro. You see what I'm saying?
I see.
So it's not like you take and then.
Did you just science me on
They
the
thought
fecal
of it.
pills?
Huh?
Did you just science me right there?
Well, you know,
It's not gonna
science.
break down.
He blinded me with science.
Science.
The
Dude, God, please bring the bird.
Yeah.
bird turd.
What about if you put it up rectally?
Bring the poopy bird.
You know what I mean?
The Eagle has landed.
Today's Quah is being brought to you by Chimera Coffee. It's the only coffee that is infused with all natural nootropics for a cleaner, calmer, and more focused buzz without the crash. Click the Chimera link at mindpumpmedia.com and input the discount code MINDPUMP at checkout for 10% off.
It's the motherfucking Quah.
Eagle has landed.
First up is Henning BCKHS. In the videos that we make, we show a crunch on a bench. Is it safe to go into more extension?
This is a great question. You know what? You know what's funny? You guys ever listen to
This is a job for Sal Di Stefano.
You know, when I listen to our episodes, I have this bad habit of like before every question, whenever Doug will read the question, I always be like, "This is a great question. I'm going to answer it."
Yeah.
So sorry for saying that again. Wow. It is a good question, and this is why. We do demonstrate crunches and stuff on flat surfaces, which mean you can't go into full extension. So what that means is when you're doing a crunch, you're in what's called flexion of the spine, flexion of the lumbar spine. When I go back, I'm starting to go into extension, but the bench stops me so that my back is flat. The reality is I can go further back, right? We all can arch our back so that we go into full extension. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that that's the full range of motion of the abs. Like if I go into a full extension and then come up to full flexion, I'm now working my abs in a fuller range of motion.
But let's talk about why we don't teach that for that, that specific movement.
It depends. Like I don't teach it to beginners for sure because it requires really good control, really good articulation.
Don't just say beginners either, because somebody who's been working out for a long time.
I guess you're right. Poor muscle control.
Yes, and so let's make this really clear here. In my experience, well over 80% of the people I've ever trained have somewhat of lower cross syndrome. Most people have it excessively, so that means their hip flexors are overactive. They've got this, they're already living in extension, right? And so that person, I'm not worried about them going all the way back in extension, full range of motion, which we're huge fans of, okay? But in this case, we're trying to work on a deviation that most people have. So most people I'm not going to tell to do that. Now, if you don't ever have any low back pain, you don't think you have a slight anterior pelvic tilt, you don't think you have any hip flexors that are overactive, then absolutely I would promote you going through full range of motion and opening up like Sal was talking about. But I think we speak to the majority when we tell people to stay out of that.
It's just people have a tough time really working and getting the abs to do what they're supposed to without getting all kinds of hip flexors involved anyway. This is why I love the physio ball. The physio ball, if you do it right, if you do a proper crunch on a physio ball and you push your hips up so you activate the glutes, you can go into like a nice extension because you can kind of wrap around the ball. And this is what I tell my clients when they do this. I tell them, wrap your back around the ball while maintaining stable hips so you're not swinging back and forth, and then crunch over the ball.
Have we not done the ball one like that?
We haven't. Yeah.
I don't think we've done ball stuff.
You know what?
I meant Bosu. I said Dynadis.
We will do.
That's an old reference.
Yeah, well, Bosu or stability ball would work, right? Physio ball. We'll definitely do. That's actually, I don't know why we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, interesting.
Shame on us.
But
we'll post a video. If you're not, by the way, if you guys are listening and you have not subscribed, so we have 2 channels that are running right now. Mind Pump TV, every single day we drop a free video and it's full of exercises just like the one we're talking about. And then we have Mind Pump Radio, and Mind Pump Radio is actually these episodes that we have now. Now they're on YouTube. We know that a lot of people have a hard time sharing episodes on podcasts.
Yeah, so you can listen to us on YouTube, the whole podcast, and just share it if you want.
So make sure you subscribe to both those and share with your friends.
Yeah, so when I first really started focusing on, because I went through a process where I worked out for years and years and years, and I did very little direct, core work. My core was strong and stable because of deadlifts and squats and overhead presses, and I did do some core work, but I did very little like direct core work. and I would get lean. I'd get down to like 9% body fat, and I'd get a six pack, but I have to really flex to show it. And I don't remember what happened exactly or what prompted this, but I decided, you know what? I'm going to build my abs out so that they kind of stick out more so I can see them more. And what I did through this process is I started training with more resistance. So I started doing like heavier resistance type exercises. I started really focusing on the function of the abs, which is to flex the spine, but then I would also get into full extension. And I started training them more frequently. This is how I developed the No BS six-pack formula program that we have. And the before and after my abs was so fucking dramatic. Like, I didn't get any leaner, but I went from having an okay, core, not really anything spectacular, to it becoming like something that really stood out in my body, to where if I get lean now, people notice my abs right away. In fact, I've developed my abs to the point where if I wear a tight shirt and I'm lean and I'm relaxed, you can see my abs through my shirt.
They pop out. You definitely have the best core out of all of us for sure. And I'll be the first one to admit that this is an area that I neglect. I totally neglect it. I've always dieted down to get my abs. The old, the abs are built in the kitchen. And it's not to say that I don't recognize the importance of the exercises and actually training them for hypertrophy. It's just that I've been able to get lean enough to where I could see them, and it wasn't a weak point, and I was worried about other stuff. So, but you can definitely tell the difference when you look at your abdominal wall compared to mine. Like mine, I have to get really lean, and then you see like when I lose the body fat around all the abdominals, then they come out, where you can be the same body fat percentage. I mean, we could be sitting at like 8 to 10%, and you could see yours actually protrude out. So it's a major difference for sure.
Makes a big difference. And the keys were training with resistance, learning proper form, and then full range of motion, which meant going into extension. So I use the physio ball quite a bit, and I do it slow, and I focus on my form. And I'm telling you, I got a pretty strong core. I'm not the strongest. I got a decent strength though. And when I do physio ball crunches and I do long lever ones where I extend my arms above my head, if I do full extension and full flexion with my hips in a nice stable position, I'm not getting more than like 15 reps with good control and form. And I don't need any more resistance than just my arms.
Well, wasn't this like highlighted a lot on those infomercials where they show you products where they can get you more into more extension? Or was that more flexion?
The problem with all.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about
what infomercials are you talking about?
I'm talking about that ball, the
bender ball.
The bender ball.
Yeah. No, you're right. And here's the problem. The problem with all ab exercises and machines, in particular machines, is that if you don't understand that the abs extend and flex at the lumbar spine, then you're going to have a tough time, because all you're thinking of is bending forward. I'm thinking coming up for a sit-up or raising my legs in a leg raise. But that can happen at the hips. Right. And if you're not focusing on the lumbar spine, that's where it's going to happen. It's going to happen at your hips.
Well, and they're not in those videos. That's why I kind of bring that up, because they're basically taking it all the way to the hips, and they're leaning all the way back. So they're missing the point of the intention of the crunch and the exercise and training the abs specifically. So, in
fact, once you know this, like all ab exercises can become quite effective. I mean, one of our most popular videos on MPTV is the ab rollout that I'm demoing. An ab rollout, if you do it right, is very, very difficult. But I see people in the gym just hip flexor the shit out of it all day long. And get very little for it.
I was literally teaching a client. So this move that this person is bringing up right now that we're talking about, where this was the one where you sat on the bench and you hooked your feet underneath
the it's like prowler. A Roman chair almost.
Yeah. So she was actually wanting me to watch her form, and she was doing it. And she's like, I know you said tuck and this, and I'm watching her go through. And it's crazy that how difficult it is to slow down this process and really focus on, articulating the spine and trying to lay down each vertebrae as you open up. Because, even after I was sitting there telling her she'd watch the videos, she starts off in the right position. You still, as soon as you start to go back, you want to open right up into that.
Right away. Go
right away.
Flexor.
Right away. It's just because it's so, and people have to understand this, that
it's hardwired.
Yes. Start really slow and controlled and really pick apart your form and pay attention to the little movements that's happening, because when you've created this dominant pathway to the hip flexors to take over a movement like that, even if you start off in the right move and you start the way Sal's all position and then you start repping away at it, that dominant pathway is going to kick in. It's just not that easy. It's not like it's like riding a bike forever, and then we're gonna skateboard, and just because they both have fucking wheels, you would just expect you're gonna be able to get on it and do it right away. It doesn't work that way,
Yeah, I think if you're starting on really training your abs properly, the first thing you should do is pick the easiest exercise and just perfect the form, and then gradually move yourself up to the more difficult ones that require more resistance.
George Murray, views on training in a shorter range of motion. Is it beneficial sometimes?
So the question was a little longer when I read it on Instagram. So
read the whole thing.
Well, he's talking about how we always promote full range of motion training, and full range of motion training builds the most muscle, and you should always work on your range of motion and get more ranges of motion with more connectivity.
Did you plan that to follow up that last one? Because that was kind of the same.
No, actually, was on plan. It's a
nice job.
serendipity.
Nice job.
Is there benefit to training in shorter ranges of motion sometimes? Absolutely. Definitely. In fact, we're huge advocates of isometric tension-based movements, which are no range of motion. You're picking a particular point in a range of motion, and you're just activating and being tense within it. Shorter range of motion are great for. Now, here's the thing: some people will sell shorter ranges of motion by saying it overloads the muscle.
Yeah,
better.
don't buy that bullshit.
Yeah, like, you can use more weight in a shorter range of motion.
I'm curious to how I'll tell you how I use it whenever I use it.
They'll say, it overloads the muscle with more weight because since you're only doing a half rep, you can use more weight, therefore more muscle is going to grow. No, that's false. You are using more weight, but you're training a shorter range of motion, and you're really only overloading. You're not overloading the muscle any differently. You're just you're just putting more resistance within a range of motion that you're stronger in. So, for example, if I'm doing a bench press, I'm probably going to be really strong at lockout and going down 2 inches. So if I just go down 2 inches and press out, I'm really strong in that particular range of motion, so I can add tons of weight.
Right.
But all I'm really doing is training that range of motion. That's what you need to understand with shorter ranges of motion, is you're being very specific with what you're training. Mm-hmm. So here's how I use short ranges of motion. I pick areas or within the ranges of motion that I have weaknesses in or instability in. Mm-hmm. And this is what I would do with my clients. So if I have a client, for example, that has trouble with the bottom portion of a squat, let's say we go down at the bottom of the squat and I notice that he loses or she loses stability in there. I notice the knee might go out a little bit, or the hips want to twist a little bit, or they get the tailbone tuck, or their foot wants to raise at the bottom of the rep. And let's say we're using 100 pounds. I'll take that weight and I'll go down to 50 pounds. I'll cut it in half. And I'll tell them, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go down to the bottom of the squat. But when you're down there, we're going to maintain perfect position. So your left knee likes to move out a little bit and your right hip likes to go out to the right a little bit. I want you to be perfectly straight at the bottom of the squat, and we're going to hold it here for 5 seconds. And then we're going to come up, and we're going to repeat that.
But
so
you're
now
still going through the entire range of motion.
we are, but we're focusing on that short range.
Right.
But you can also
Pump them out at the bottom.
You can also pump them out at the bottom. But you got to go real light, and it's because I'm focusing on ranges of motion where they're losing.
So you're talking about more of like a pulsing type of a rep, where you're picking the end, like the bottom range of motion that's a sticking point. And we're trying to emphasize this as like, okay, we need to recruit better in this part, in this position of the lift.
Or at the top, like there's studies that now show that quarter squats, when you add quarter, and we all laugh at quarter squats, right? Go all the way down. But when you add quarter squats to a routine that has full squats, they show an improvement in vertical above and beyond just the full squats.
Well, I have a theory on that. I mean, that's when you jump for a vertical, you don't.
It's different.
You're not going. That's
you don't ever squat.
Of
yeah,
course.
yeah. You don't
Yeah,
squat.
it's
So
a
that's
different
why that is, and you can go heavy or low. Like
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
I'll be honest. Like I don't really use that as a technique. The pulsing or the doing reps.
Well, it makes sense that you wouldn't,
I
because
do
when you hear
isometrics.
how I do it, it's not the way you train that much. So I could get why you don't. The only time I use this is when I'm training in hypertrophy. So think of it like this: when you're training for strength and power, so when you're in that 1 to 6 to 7 rep range, I ain't fucking around with no short reps. I'm trying to lift maximal load in that rep range through full range of motion to promote the most muscle growth I possibly can, to promote the most strength I possibly can, and to promote good joint health by going through full range of motion. Now, when I start jumping into the 10 to 15 rep range, and I've been training hypertrophy, and now I'm chasing the benefits of the pump, now I might include some supersets or some short range pumping exercises where I'm more focused now on pumping blood into my muscle to benefit the sarcoplasmic hypertrophy opposed to strength or power. I'm lifting a lot lighter weight. It's less dangerous, less detrimental to me. I'm not really trying to increase strength or power right now. I'm chasing a pump. So guess what? Short pumping reps actually will help pump it up. So there's the only time. And then even
now you do that towards the you that's not the bulk of your
oh
workout.
well, even then I don't do it hardly ever. It's not something I do hardly ever.
I think that's we need to be very
yeah.
clear.
That's but I think it's important that they know that it's something that I would incorporate and I would use. And if I come in there one day and get a hair in my ass and said, hey man, I haven't done like a short range pumping exercise, I'm gonna throw that. Like let's say I'll do bench, right? And I'm going to do 4 or 5 working sets. And then the very last set, I might strip the weight down halfway. And then I do these short little pump out just to finish the pump on the.
See, I can see that. Like an example that comes to mind in my head is those the 21s, with the curling bar.
Old school 21s.
Right? Old school. So it definitely, you get a different feel and recruitment, but at the end you're trying to achieve full range of motion after you've pumped blood in there too as well. So I don't know. I guess to each their own, but I tend to like if you are using that technique and it is a different technique to get a different type of stimulus, I wouldn't recommend doing that very frequently.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can all agree on that.
Next question.
Jay Crispino, what do you recommend to someone with weak ankles?
So this person rolled I think he said he rolled his ankle a couple times, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm confusing him with someone else, but there's 2 places that I'll look when somebody has weak ankles. And usually when someone says, I have weak ankles, it's because they roll their ankles consistently. And it's usually to the outside. I rarely will see a, pronate, roll. It's always that whole supinate roll, right, where it comes to the outside, typically. And it comes from 2 areas that I've seen most common. Number one,
hip or foot.
Hip or foot. The hip, if your hip is tight or weak, or you don't have good connection to it, then the joints that attach to it will start to bear the load. So if you look at the hip, right, the hip is this real mobile joint. It rotates internally, externally. It abducts, adducts. It flexes and extends. The ankle's got lots of mobility in it as well, but the ankle doesn't have the strength and the power and the muscle connected to it like the hips do. So if I'm running and I'm doing a lateral move and my hip isn't supporting me well, my ankle is gonna take that and I'm gonna roll my ankle and get some pain. But the second area to look is your foot, and this is something that we've kind of recently learned all about.
Well, yeah, no, we have the barefoot specialist that's coming in on the 25th, and I mean, I would definitely address your connection to your feet for sure. I mean, I would agree with you too, Sal. I think that, I mean, just think of it this way: like the hip the hip complex is just huge. There's tons of range of motion that the femur should be allowed to do in all different directions. So it's a multifaceted joint, right? So you can get all these different planes, and it's big and it's strong and it's surrounded by lots of muscles that are really strong. And so it should really take a majority of any stress of you moving into different planes. Now, when you lose that connectivity, when you lose a lot of strength in multiple planes, and that hip no longer is used to moving, left to right, and it's always going forward or back, like which happens to a lot of people as they age because you're not playing soccer or basketball or baseball or these sports that force you to work in the transverse plane or in the sagittal plane or in the frontal plane. So you'll end up being so dominant, forward and back that when you ask the body to barely go out of there to the left or right, then that stress, because the hip no longer has that connectivity or no longer has that strength, the stress runs all the way down to the foot, and then you end up rolling the foot out to the outside. You also could see, which goes back to the foot or goes back to the hip again, the pronating. And I see pronating a lot when people are squatting. So, even though Sal made it a point that it's more common you roll the ankle to the outside.
Yeah.
But if you're saying you have weak ankles because you watch your squat video and you're pronating, which is more common, your femur's internally rotating and going back to the hips again. You're internally rotating the femur when you drop down, which could be due to like weak glute medius, and then that's putting stress on the ankles, and or you have a poor connection to your feet, and then when you get down in that deep squat, your feet aren't gripping the floor and planting like they should be.
Yeah, I think the reason why you see rolling out is so common is because when you're cutting or going laterally, it's that outside foot that tends to that you're using to stop you. Very rarely is that inside foot needing to create, that type of force that can roll your ankle in that direction. And typically, if you see the foot pronate real hard, they won't roll their ankle. What they'll do is they'll bust that's usually a knee injury.
Yeah, that's where I remember the MCL injury that I had was because real abrupt stop where I was like trying to stop myself on the inside on AstroTurf, and so just that friction and that abrupt stop, that was the force that you don't normally sort of absorb that, or you don't train for those types of situations. So
did you hurt your knee on that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's a couple other things. Rolled ankles to the outside.
You keep saying rolled ankles, but this person said weak ankles. I'm assuming this person is probably talking more about pronating of the foot when they squat. That's my guess.
It's difficult
because I think someone that
you're right.
I think someone who's rolling their ankle, like spraining their ankle when they would say, I keep spraining my ankle, or what do I do because my ankles keep getting sprained, or whatever, which could be a whole host of things that we talked about. But the most common thing I see is the pronating of the ankle.
Here's what the whole question says.
It says, okay. Why don't you read the whole thing?
It says, he said that first part, what would you recommend to someone with weak ankles? And then, I feel like often I'm strong enough to do something, but my ankles are too weak and lack stability that it's really starting to hinder things. So
yeah, see, I think they're squatting, and I think they're probably feeling their ankles cave in when they come down.
Strengthening their feet.
It could be. Strengthen your feet, work on your hips. If you have a strong overarch in your foot, then it can go on the outside. If they pronate, then it's gonna it's gonna hinder your squats.
I spoke to this a little bit, maybe 3 weeks ago on my Instagram. You saw me do a heavy deadlift. And I pronated on one side, and so then after that you saw some primers that I was doing for ankle mobility and for firing my glute med. So you can get it on my. If you're not already following me on Instagram, go back to the shirt where I'm wearing the blue Mad Mike shirt and I'm deadlifting. You see what I talk about, and then the following videos.
There's a couple cool exercises you could do for ankles and feet. Like one of them is if you have newspaper, you can put it on the floor, or something, a thin piece of paper, and sit down and actually pick it up with your toes by squeezing your foot like you're trying to grab it with your entire foot, and just practice that over and over again. That'll strengthen some of the muscles on the bottom of your foot. And the other one is, if you're standing up on your feet, is to tilt your ankles in one direction or the other and go back and forth and do some reps like that, so you can strengthen the sides of your ankles,
right?
Not just the front and back, like the tibialis and calf. Those are two exercises that I would recommend.
And by the way, Jay Crispino is a female. 406 Montana Viking.
Way to make us look like an asshole, Doug.
Sorry. I just want to clarify.
We're like talking to like a guy.
By the way,
this guy's a punk. No, I'm just kidding.
The 406 Montana Viking. Gnarliest injury you have ever witnessed.
Oh, man.
Oh, God. I know right off the top of my head.
Do you have a nasty one? Because I have a bad one.
Fucking nasty.
All right, go for it.
To this day, so I have a really hard time watching, when you're watching sports and you see an injury, I just have a fuck. Once you've either done something to yourself or you've been close to a really gnarly injury, I get fucking like a little girl. I don't want to watch it at all. I was a sophomore in high school. Gotta remember this fucking vividly. Sophomore in high school, and our game just finished. I was JV, and varsity's playing now. And some of my players, teammates, and I are, we're going over to the little the high school snack bar, and we got some nachos and hot dogs. And we're and so imagine too, right? I'm getting ready to bite in some nachos while this happens. So
it's already grossing me out. I don't even know what happened.
So imagine a high school basketball court. We come in the big double doors that enter in from where the snack bar area is, and we're standing there. And homeboy gets a fast break, and so we're waiting for a whistle before we walk around the court and go sit down. And so we're at the baseline, right underneath the hoop. Here comes a fast break. This kid steals a ball, kicks it out to a guy who's about 6'6". And he's got it all alone, and we're all excited because this dude's 6'6". He's got a fast break. He's fucking dunking this ball. We all know he's going to dunk it. I'm right underneath the hoop. I'm going to watch him do it. I'm eating my nachos with my best friend. And he plants and he goes to do a 360. So he's going to do a fucking 360 dunk right in front of him.
But his leg didn't want to go with him.
Oh, dude. He plants, rotates, foot that planted, stayed planted. The rest of his body completely 360 rotates.
Yeah.
Snaps his tibia right in half.
Oh,
dude.
he broke his
that made
tibia?
a nice
right
noise.
in. Oh, it was a pop. It was, and then right away it was like his foot stayed planted. It was the grossest thing I ever seen. His body completely rotates, and his leg was just like just bent like a Z.
He just fall down and look at it. Just
Anything?
like, huh?
Did anything break through the skin?
You did see a little bit, barely. I mean, I didn't see like really. It didn't like
Because you just looked away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Like right away, I was like, "Oh God!" And you could see a little bit of it, and it was enough for me
know what it
to
is
ruin
with
my nachos.
Basketball, dude, like, because I had a really bad one with basketball as well, and it's the hard floor. Like, if you have the wrong floor too, like this floor wasn't like one of those wooden floors that gives more and has like a little bit more bounce to it.
Yeah.
It almost felt like concrete, and we were playing in this. It was in junior high, and one of my friends, he went to go dive for this ball, and him and another guy, they were fighting for this ball, like this loose ball, and my friend kind of fell to grab it, and he fell with his arm kind of leading down, and not only did he fall onto this hard ground, but then the other guy fell on his arm, and basically just like this compound fracture, like his whole elbow came out of his skin. And was like, and then his forearm was
God,
just
who's the
flopping,
asshole who asked this question?
flopping down like
Fucking
this. It was
stomach
like this,
hurts.
right? And he gets up, and his bones all sticking out, and he looks over at me, and he looks at me, and he looks back down at his arm. He looks at me again, and then my eyes are probably like humongous at this
Like
point,
tennis balls.
Yeah, and he's just like, ah, and he starts freaking out, and then he started like it was like the most curdling like guttural like scream, and it just to this day it freaked me out. And his arm's never been the same.
Oh my God,
either.
Sal, did they have any injuries at science fairs?
Yeah. So I've seen a few pretty bad ones.
This kid, he was doing like a volcano exhibition, and the volcano erupted and went all over his face. And
He burned his eyebrows.
Tell us.
Actually, there's probably been some pretty nasty ones, you would think, right?
At the science fair.
I dropped all the chemicals on my lap and melted my lips. So no, I have a couple. So one, there was a school fight. So there was a fight after school.
Oh, okay.
Two guys got in a big fight.
They would have been great if you had a science fair.
Dude, one guy hits the other guy. He falls down, but then he goes and picks him up and slams him on his face.
Oh no!
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah. So the guy's like out. Everybody freaks out. Dude, the guy stops hitting him or whatever because he just slammed him on his face. He comes up and wakes up, and you see blood coming out of his mouth. And he's like, dude, what happened? What happened to my mouth? It's bleeding. And he opens his mouth, and the whole bottom row of his jaw was like broken. Like all of his teeth were like bent back. Like his. I can't explain it.
You just
That's
reminded me of
horrible,
another
dude.
story. I
Yeah,
got
it
one
was
for you.
just
That's even worse.
It was just bent back, and it looked horrible.
God.
So that was gross. And then the second, that's not the worst thing I've ever seen. This next one is close to the worst, and the third thing I'm gonna tell you is absolutely worst. This next thing was I was at the gym. I'm a kid, so I'm probably like 16 years old. And I used to work out over at, God, what do they call it now? It was, remember Ronnie Lott's Fitness? They used to call it
It's
that.
forum something now.
It's something different now, but
Yeah.
Ronnie Lott's Fitness, they used to call it. So I'm working out over there, and there's this massive, and I don't know how, I'm 16, so to a 16-year-old, this guy he was like the biggest dude I've ever seen. Massive, roided out bodybuilder guy, and he's doing leg presses. And he's got the whole machine just stacked full of plates, probably, I don't know, 10 plates on each side, and he's doing his reps, and you hear him, moving the sled, and I'm kind of off to the side, but I'm not really watching him. So all of a sudden, you hear this loud, like dry snap, like this snap, like I don't know how to explain this. Case snap, and then you hear boom. You hear the weight just crash down, and he's screaming. So I turn around, and a bunch of people are looking over, and he's under the weight. Luckily, there's safeties, so the leg press isn't like crushing him, but his legs are definitely fully bent, right?
Yeah.
And he's screaming, so everybody runs over there, and we just slide the weights off, push the sled up, lock it up, and he straightens his legs out, and his left leg, his quad, was in his hip.
Oh, what?
It was in his hip. Like it tore off his patella. and it shot up into his fucking hip. And so what you saw
big
is
old ball up in his like a softball in his.
You saw like stretched skin because the muscles bulging up here, and there's like skinny, and then you see it just discoloration start. He just tore the quad off his fucking.
See, like
kneecap.
if you took a video of that and then you showed that to those assholes that do that at 24 Hour Fitness that put all the weights on like a hip sled.
It was gross. It was gross, and I can't forget what it looked like. But here is the worst thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. This is the
for
worst.
a science fair nerd, you got a lot of good fucking injuries you saw, man.
I think I've only been to one science fair. I won it though.
I won, of course.
So when I used to train in jiu-jitsu is interesting. It's got a very interesting culture around it. And there's definitely some politics that are involved with jiu-jitsu. For example, in the old school jiu-jitsu schools, if you showed up and you were an asshole, they had like an arm breaker that the coach would send over to you, and his job was to break your arm. Especially if you're from another school and you're coming over there and you're punking their students, they'll send over. And there was lots of rumors of who these arm breakers were, and that now a lot of them are popular instructors, so I don't want to name any names, but this was just a thing that I'd heard about, but I'd never seen it. Our school was very friendly, very nice, and it was cool. So one day we're training in this, or class about to start, and this big old, like fully tatted up, like up to his neck, Samoan dude enrolls in the class, and he's a beginner, he's a white belt, massive dude, probably 245 pounds, definitely lifts weights, very strong looking, aggressive guy. And he signs up for the class. And so he's going through the workout, going through the warm-ups, going through the drills of the techniques. And at the end, it's time to spar. So we always left about an hour where we would just go against each other. We'd roll, right? So he's going against the white belts. And first match, and he's a big fucking dude. You know what I'm saying? So he's going against these beginners who are he outweighs them by 60 pounds or more. And he's just fucking smashing these people. Like, he doesn't have any technique, so he's just bending him in half and driving him into the wall and picking him up off the floor. And so the coach runs over and he's like, hey, you need to relax. Like, you're new. You don't know what you're doing. Don't go so hard. We're just practicing. Someone's going to get hurt if you keep doing this. So the guy's like, okay. Next match. Does the same thing. Grind. And he hurts someone. So now he's going against the beginner. The guy like twists his knee because this guy's just spazzing out everywhere, and he's this big dude. So the coach looks at me and he says under his breath, he goes, Sal, I want you to go teach him a lesson. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, is this the rumors that I'm like, is he telling me to hurt this motherfucker? Like, is this what they're saying? So in my mind, I'm like, I'm not going to hurt anybody. Maybe he's just telling me go over there and just
whoop him,
just dominate him, right? Just dominate this guy. So it says, okay. Now at this point, I'd been training for about 4 years, so I'm pretty well versed, and I'm not a weak guy. But this guy still outweighs me by a good 40 pounds. At the time, I'm probably 200, 205. So I go against him, and immediately I start sitting on my butt, so this guy can just come on top of me and do what he wants. And I put him on my guard, and I put him in an arm lock. Real quick, I throw him in an arm lock, and I start extending his arm, and I don't crank very hard, because I know I could break this guy's arm. So what he does is he clasps his hands together and he picks me up. Like he's going to slam me on the fucking floor.
Oh, shit.
So I let go and I fall down, and then he jumps back on top of me. Now he's on top of me and he's trying to pin me. And I'm talking to him like, listen, dude, if I get you in something, you need to tap out, because if I crank any harder, you're going to get hurt. So while he's holding me down, he's telling me, you didn't have me. He's like, go ahead. If you got me, you can go ahead and get me. He's like, but you didn't have me. So now he thinks he's being a fucking badass, right? Coach now is telling me, Sal, just hurry up and beat him. So now I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? So this guy's on top of me. I get out of him. I get out of the position, and I roll. This guy stands up, which you're not supposed to do if you're just rolling on the ground. He stands up. So I'm like, okay. So I roll into a knee lock, a knee bar. So now I've got him in a knee bar, and I'm cranking on his knee. And he's kicking me with his leg, trying to get me off, and I've got a tight hold. So I start cranking harder and harder, and he's kicking me. And the coach is like, Sal, go ahead and crank on it. Like he's telling me, crank on it.
Go ahead and break his knee, son.
Break his fucking leg.
So I take his foot and I tuck it behind my arm. And for the listeners who are versed in jiu-jitsu or sambo, you tuck the foot behind your arm in a knee bar, you've got a lot of leverage. So I start cranking harder. He's yelling, but he's not tapping out. And I'm literally thinking in my head, I don't want to break a knee. Like, that's just gross. I just don't want to do that. It's not worth it to me. So I put him in a foot lock instead, like a figure four. So I figure four his foot. So he tries to twist. I grab his foot in a figure four, and I'm tucking his foot under his butt now, and I'm cranking on his ankle. And again, he's kicking, he's thrashing, he's trying to pull me off the mat. And so I think to myself, like, I'm just going to apply gradually more and more pressure till he gives up. Like, this is bullshit. This guy's going crazy. And I apply a little bit more pressure, and his fucking ankle, dude, right in my hands, dude, fucking snaps. And I feel his foot like go in a weird position. I see it, and I let go, like, ah. And he's screaming, ah! And my coach looks over to him. He's like, that's what you fucking get. You're supposed to fucking tap out. That's what you get. So this guy's getting yelled at. He's on the floor holding his ankle.
Before he just got his ankle broken in half, he's getting yelled at too.
Dude, and I'm like,
you asshole.
And my dad was there that day. My dad was training that day. My dad's looking at me like, he's like, my dad's a nice guy. And he's like, you shouldn't have done that, man. You should just let him go. He's got a big ego. You should have let him go. And I'm like, I wasn't even trying to like break his ankle. So I got up and got him some ice from outside and shit and came inside. Funny thing is, that guy came back to class a week later and he had his ankle all, in a cast or bandaged up. Nicest guy ever.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he just needed a humbling experience.
Dude, I tell you what, man.
Some guys need that shit.
That was an ego check. He came in, he was shaking everybody's hand. He was being all polite, soft-spoken. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, shit. But if that motherfucker learns some technique.
It's funny you brought a humbling story, because when you brought up that whole mouth thing, you reminded me of a story when I was a senior in high school. In fact, we just graduated. We were heading off for our Hawaii trip. I think I don't know if I told you guys this story before or not. And there's like 6 of my good high school friends. We're all together and we all got hotel rooms. And it's like, it's one of those trips that get put on by, what are those companies called? Like, what are they? Where like they're all young kids, right? There's like 400 kids in this hotel that are all 18 to 23 years old. I forget what the name of those companies were that used to put these.
Sex parties.
Kind of, yeah. So we're in we just get there, right? It's literally the first night we're here. The very first thing we did was go get our fake IDs because we're all under 21. We go get and we literally get suitcases of beer. We buy enough beer for the entire week. All 6 guys put their money together. We empty our luggage out. We get tons of beer. Bring it to because when you get that age, that's like the cool thing to do, right? So we have a refrigerator full of beer and we start drinking and we're getting all drunk. And my best friend at the time in high school, we had just got into lifting weights that year, and he was the opposite of me. Like, he started touching weights, and you would have thought he was on steroids. Just, I mean, he was 185 pounds. He was benching like 350 in high school, like just all natural, perfect mesomorph body type, just built, right? And, I remember it so vividly, like this transition of watching his personality like change. We were friends as kids, and you get some confidence because you start to build some size. You can move some weight in the gym, and all of a sudden you feel like you're like the big swinging dick and shit. And he was. I was the one who got into more fights as a kid, so I was definitely like the little scrapper and the street fighter. He wasn't somebody who got in a lot of fights, but now that he got weight on him, he felt tough. And out of the group of us guys, like, he would always kind of walk around with his chest puffed out like that. And we're in Hawaii, and it's late at night. We'd been drinking all day long. We're in our hotel rooms, first night. And some dude knocks on our door. When I hop up, I go over and I open the door, and the dude's wasted. And he's like, hey, is my girl in there? Is my girl here? And I'm like, oh, no, dude, you got the wrong room, bro. And I just close the door, let him go, right? And then my buddy hops up. He's like, who's that? Who's that? I'm like, oh, just some drunk guy looking for his girlfriend. What the fuck, man? Why is he coming to our place? I'm like, he's just drunk, dude. Leave him alone. He's like, oh, fuck that.
Oh my God.
So he gets up, right? He opens the door, and you see the guy, he's stumbling down the hallway, knocking on each door. Is my girlfriend here? Like literally asking everybody, like, is my girlfriend here, right?
Are you having sex with my girlfriend?
Yeah. And my boy's in just like his little, basketball shorts. He's got no shirt on, and he comes out.
So he's feeling like he's tough.
He's feeling, he's got the chip on him right away. I mean, he got up to start some shit. Like, he literally did, right? So he gets up, he walks out in the hallway. He's like, yo, bro. The guy, turns around, and he's like, you looking for your girl? He's like, yeah, she's in here with us, bro.
Oh.
And the guy's like,
throws you in there too.
Oh yeah, right. And I'm like, oh God, dude, why are we fucking with this?
Go.
Yeah, why are we fucking with this drunk guy? And there's 3 of us, and he's by himself, and he's coming down the hall like staggering back. He's like, what? And my boy's like, yeah. He throws his hands up. What the fuck are you gonna do? She's with us. And I'm like, God. So the guy's coming over, and literally he's like stumbling. And he just does a nice little stumble with his momentum, cock back,
boom,
boom, and just square on my boy's lip, and literally blood just goes all over the walls, squirts everywhere. And the natural reaction, so this is my boy who gets punched in the face right away. Me and my buddy jump on the other guy and pounce the fuck out of him right away. So I'm in the middle of wrestling and tussling with this dude. We kick him out. He goes running down the hallway. Someone says they're going to call the cops. So we all scatter. But when I look up, there's blood all over the walls. I can't find my boy. I come walking around the corner back into our hotel room, and he's standing over the sink, and literally blood is just gushing out of his mouth. It literally, the guy hit him just right on the lip. It filleted his lip all the way to his nose and butterflied it open, and it's just pouring blood. We had to go take him to the emergency room. He was there all night long. They had to fly a plastic surgeon in to come in and fix it. The rest of the trip, he couldn't see any sunshine or anything. He had like fucking 50 stitches.
He got a mandible all of a sudden.
His lip was literally this fucking big, bro. This fucking big, and stitches all over it, and he couldn't leave. Yeah, he looked just like that.
He had a mandible.
Literally, just like that. Couldn't leave the hotel room. And talk about a humbling experience for him, dude. Ruined his fucking senior.
He learned
trip.
his lesson.
Oh, what a dumb dick,
I'm sure he
right?
learned real quick.
Oh, what a dumb
That
dick.
his muscles don't mean shit.
Oh, nothing. Yeah, it was such a sloppy punch, dude. It was. We beat the shit out of the guy right afterwards. But I mean, that's what you get, dude. And see, a couple rules, a couple things to learn here, right? Don't pick fights, right? Don't fuck with a drunk guy. Don't throw your hands up in the air when you want to fight. That's the dumbest move I've ever seen guys do. When guys
put
are
your hands down and just be like, "What, bro?"
Anytime a guy tells me like "what, bro," or throws his arms up right away, I'm like, "Oh, he's gonna get his ass whipped by me," because that's definitely not the move to do. If you've been in lots of fights, you don't throw your arms up in the air
right
like act
for the
tough.
face.
It's like that's not the guy who I worry about. Like you're talking shit, and
Calm.
he instantly gets into his like fucking boxing
That's it,
stance.
man.
It's like,
That's it. Bring it.
Okay, yeah, this guy's been fucking hit in the face.
Yeah.
Hey, 30 days of coaching for free. Mind Pump Media. Check it out. It's going like crazy. People are signing up like crazy. Also, check out our YouTube channel. A brand new video every single day. It's YouTube, Mind Pump TV. And if you want to share the show, it's hard to share a podcast. You can't like share it on Facebook or whatever. It's very difficult. But you can on YouTube. We actually have a YouTube channel with all of our podcasts are being posted on that. It's Mind Pump Radio. So we got two YouTube channels, Mind Pump TV for our videos, Mind Pump Radio for our podcast.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.